It's time for some real education. Lorenzo de' Medici, the brilliant, learned, and ruthless head of a wealthy banking family, ruled the Italian city-state of Florence in the Renaissance in the late 15th century. The National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. displays a curious and intense bust of Lorenzo, most likely a copy of a wax model made to commemorate Lorenzo's survival of an assassination attempt in 1478. Cleaning in recent years has brought out the original bright reds, warm flesh tones, and a light beard. The brooding face suggests the forceful intelligence behind Lorenzo's power.
Yeah, this is a really important person. This is one of the most important people of the entire Renaissance. Not just the Italian Renaissance, but the Renaissance generally. He was actually given the name, and wouldn't you love to one day be given the name like Magnifico? This is Lorenzo the Magnifico, the Magnificent, right? That's a great, we've got, what does Rush Limbaugh call Reagan? Ronaldus Magnus. That's pretty good. But Lorenzo the Magnificent is pretty good as well. Now, this guy was a power player. He was besides having the control eventually of the Medici family, the family of bankers, really one of the first great banking families to use capital and interest to make a lot of money. And by controlling the banks, not just in Italy and Florence, but really all across the Western world, Medici bankers were as far flung as England all the way down to the shores of India. And you had just an incredible amount of wealth. All of that travel and all of that connection, however, really furthered the Renaissance. It brought all of these different aspects of Western culture together in his own salon, in his own, the Medici mansions. Lorenzo would bring talented young people to their artists and artistas, and they would train them and they would give them a place to live. They would patronize them, including no less a figure than Michelangelo. Michelangelo cut his teeth at the Medici palaces under Lorenzo. Verrocchio, a great artist in his own right, was part of this circle, who was a tutor and a mentor for Michelangelo. And it was initially thought, take a look at this bust of Lorenzo. It was initially thought that Lorenzo himself was more artistically involved than people had thought before. That with Verrocchio, he was the person initially ascribed to this bust, but now as Katie pointed out, the Washington Museum of Art, the National Gallery, just got done putting this back on display after a huge cleaning process. When you used to be able to see this statue, it was a really dark umber. The whole thing looked like it was almost bronze. It was so covered with dirt and paint and overlay. But look at how just incredibly expressive now that they've cleaned it. You can see purples and blues and greens. You can see the flesh tones. You can see the slight blush on his cheek, coral pink in his lips. But one of the most interesting aspects of this is the expression on his face, the El Magnifico, right? This is one of the most influential men in the history of the world in terms of his power, his reach. All the city-states of the Italian League was held together by the Medici family. The defense of Florence and the golden age of Renaissance culture happened under his watch. Not only was Michelangelo part and parcel of this, but Verrocchio, Michelangelo's teacher, we used to think he was responsible for this bust, but ever since the cleaning, we have decided, no, more likely that a student or a tutor of Verrocchio, working with other people as well, put the statue together. And if you look at it one more time, if you think about what the Renaissance meant for Western culture, I personally think it was a bigger deal than the Enlightenment. You got the Renaissance and you got the Enlightenment. There could have been no Enlightenment without the Renaissance. And it all began with a look back to the ancient world. The Renaissance took 10 steps forward by first going back to the classics of Greece and Rome. It was about the time that Lorenzo lived. Lorenzo died in 1492. In April of 1492, just before the miraculous discoveries of Columbus, Lorenzo died, and it really did sort of put an end to the real power of the Medici here, and it ended a certain aspect of the Renaissance. But it was at about the same time, for the very first time since the ancient world, that Italians were teaching Greek in their universities. So it wasn't a matter of reading medieval Latin translations of the Greek classics anymore. You could go back and learn Greek at the University of Bologna, Padua, or Rome, and you could actually study under Byzantine scholars who had fled the Turkish invasion, who were teaching Greek in Roman universities, which brought back all of those great texts People were reading Vitruvius, the architect, and boom, you get St. Peter's Dome, right? You were reading the great treatises on art and painting and sculpture, and look at what they were able to accomplish. And you go back one last time for a salute to the recently cleaned and restored bust of Lorenzo Medici, Lorenzo the Magnificent, in the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. If you get a chance to go, try to stare him down. Just try to see if you can stare him down, right? The more you stare at the statue, the more angry it seems to get.